Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, hope you're all well. I thought I'd explain a little bit more about why I've written the book that I have. My book, which is called Milk, A Story of Breastfeeding in a Society That's Forgotten How, will be out in October. I am at the moment swamped with getting it all sorted ready for the design work, and I would like to make some videos for you about the editing and design stage of this book in the future, but I thought I'd start off with why have I written this book? So the book's about breastfeeding, clearly from the title. I mean, of all the things that I would write a book about, I would never have imagined that that's what I'd have ended up writing my first ever book about. But it was the one thing that I felt so passionate about, passionate enough to keep me writing and to make me just really want this book to exist, and it just kind of kept that tenacity which I really needed to write it. To explain a little bit where it came from, I just sort of thought I'd breastfeed my son. I looked at the options and went, yeah, I'll go for breastfeeding, that suits me. And long story short, if you want to find out more, buy my book. I mean, you can't yet, but when it comes out. When I actually had my son, I really struggled. I had quite a long and traumatic birth, and after I had him, I had quite a horrible time in hospital, just kind of not being cared for, not being supported. I was just, because I was a sort of low risk mum, and I was basically just kind of, yeah, she's alright, leave her over there kind of, and I wasn't okay at all, and I didn't get any help with breastfeeding even though I was struggling in hospital. I got discharged without feeling like I knew what I was doing, and within a few days I was in an awful lot of pain. And the thing is, when you breastfeed, you do it a lot, you know, you have to do it like 8 to 12 times a day, sometimes more, and it hurt, and I really wanted to do it, and I didn't understand, because I'd been to an antenatal class about breastfeeding, I'd read books about breastfeeding, I'd done my studying, and normally if I set my mind to something, like, I'm a determined person, I can do stuff. And I felt like as well, while I was pregnant, and I'd been told constantly like, oh, breastfeeding is lovely, it's just amazing, and just the whole time I just thought, well, like, why wouldn't I? Yeah, and so then to be faced with the fact that it wasn't just hard, I mean, it was everything. It was everything. It was being a new mum, being in pain, having a baby that I was responsible for all day, every day, having this whole change in my world. I mean, they say that when a baby is born, a mother is born, and it's so true. It just changes everything. And then to also just be struggling with something that I just felt was really fundamental. Anyway, as I recovered from all of that, as my body started to heal and I got the hang of breastfeeding, I started to feel really cross that I hadn't been kind of given a true story of breastfeeding. Well, it's not to say that people were lying to me, because I don't think there were, but just that I felt like I was a failure. I felt like there was something wrong with me, that I couldn't do, well, I mean, I could do it, I did breastfeed my kids, but I struggled to breastfeed. I felt like if I'd have known that breastfeeding can be challenging, and finding it challenging is okay, and that having to go and ask for help, that doesn't mean that you're rubbish, I would have dealt with all of that a lot better. And if I'd have known what support was out there, if I'd have had people around me who were more kind of, oh, you know, it happens, don't worry, like, and I mean, this was 8 years ago nearly, and I didn't know. I just didn't know. Fortunately, things worked out, and I managed to breastfeed all 3 of my children, and I now help out as a peer supporter in a breastfeeding group, and my most recent breastfeeding experience was incredible because of all of the support I had and the group of people who are my community now. It just makes such a difference, and even though I didn't, even third time around, have a straightforward experience, I had a very positive experience, and that's the difference between my first child and my third child, is that when you meet the challenges with support and care from your community, it makes all the difference, and with people around you being well informed and empathetic and understanding, and anything I can do to add to that, I think it's important. I sat down one night and I thought, there needs to be a book out there, not a horror story, nothing horrible, nothing negative, but just kind of gritty, kind of, this is, breastfeeding isn't always gazing at your lovely newborn, in love with them every second. It is like that sometimes, but it's not like that all the time. And sometimes it is hard, and sometimes you do need help, and that is fine. In fact, it's really normal. And humans are meant to live in groups and support one another. We're a social species, and that's all fine. That's where the book started. That was the first night when I sat writing it. It was to do with that feeling that there needed to be just a real account of breastfeeding. That was the emotion that started it. And basically, I then just wrote what happened to me. And anything significant, I wrote it down. As time went on, and as I learned more and more factual stuff got woven into the book, the things that I learnt about it. And eventually that evolved into a book where there are chapters which are kind of factual chapters about breastfeeding, like, how it works, what's the science behind it, about like mammals and about the politics and the social side of breastfeeding, and sort of looking at it from all different angles, and then relating that to my experiences. Why did I experience what I did? Why did I find things hard? And kind of as I go through my journey, relating that to different parts as things get easier, then talking about some of the other stuff to do with breastfeeding, like, what about if you breastfeed 2 babies at the same time, or what about, how long, anthropologically speaking, should we breastfeed for, and, kind of just looking at it from as many perspectives as I could. And so it's almost like sitting down and having a conversation with somebody. Well, it's like sitting down and having a conversation with me. What did you learn and what did you do? This book existing is really important because, firstly, we as humans, we would naturally sit around a campfire and tell each other stories, and that would include, telling stories about motherhood, and that would be how you would learn all your little techniques. We don't do that now. We watch telly, we watch YouTube videos, we go on the internet, we deal with things in a different way, and we're very insular. But that is how things would have worked. And having a multitude of stories, I think there should be loads of stories about breastfeeding. There should be real ones, there should be fictional ones, they should be exploring all the different angles of the breastfeeding experience. I also think that in our society we don't have a lot of knowledge about how it works, and I think it's a very interesting subject. I would think that, but it's a very fundamental part of our biology, and so I think it's important for us to know. We don't learn about it in school. We learn about all other parts of our biology, but we don't learn about how our bodies make milk and kind of what that means for us in terms of our development and how babies work, and the science of it is so interesting. So I think that that's important to have in a book as well as the political side of it, which I think a lot of people are unaware of kind of what was it like parenting a baby 100 years ago, and how has that changed compared to now, and what does that mean for infant feeding. It kind of puts into context what I experienced. Why is breastfeeding in the state that it is now? Why is it that it's something like a third of the world's babies are breastfed exclusively until they're 6 months? I think I've plucked that out of my brain correctly. Why is it that the UK has got the lowest breastfeeding rates in the world? And then you look at the way that breastfeeding is portrayed in the media. So you look at, you know, all the stories about, woman kicked out of swimming pool, or woman told to cover up in restaurant, or, I mean, all the furore last week from the Royal College of Midwives statement, which, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, suggesting that a woman who decides to formula feed should be supported and given suitable information. Good, great. And it just got jumped on by people. I mean, on the radio you were having like these like polar phone-ins about breast versus bottle, and it wasn't anything to do with that, and it makes people get angry, and it makes people feel strongly about the whole issues of infant feeding, and whether you should feed in public and how long should you feed for, and all of that stuff, and people get very opinionated and very angry and very passionate. It doesn't help when the media are pitting people against each other to make it seem like there's so much more of an issue than actually there really is between most people. As I say, the book that started out as just kind of thinking, well, I just would like there to be a real story that comes from somebody who's not a celebrity, who's not an expert, who's just a person just saying, hey, this was what it was like feeding my baby. That's what's kept me writing, because it matters. It matters that we talk about it, and not that we talk about it in a very divisive way, in that, oh, breastfeeding's the only way, but just saying that if a woman given information chooses to breastfeed, then she should be supported to do so, and not just by her healthcare professionals, but by society at large. And that right now does not happen. I believe so strongly in support and information for everybody, not just mothers, but for everybody, for people to feel like their communities have got their back, like that we all have our tribe. And I would like my book to be a part of that, of being able to be a friend to somebody that maybe doesn't want to go and talk to people, doesn't want to go to a group, doesn't have access to those things, or feels unsupported, who can read my book and get access to what I've learned and what I feel. And I very strongly feel that you don't have to agree with everything that I say, or agree with every decision I've made. I think that it's important that people share what they think and how they feel, because that's how the conversation develops. The point is, I started writing it because I thought sharing my story was important, and now I'm publishing it because I put a lot of work into it, and I'm not throwing all that work away, and also because I still think that story's got to be out there. It's just that it's a much more detailed story now. Anyway, please like if you did. Please subscribe for more videos talking about my book and talking about other people's books, and I will see you all for my next video later this week. Bye!